Hello, everybody. This is Frozen Devotion. This is a podcast dedicated to all things Hozier. My name is Emily Reeves, and with me today is Christina Laderoute. Hey, Christina, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it very much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So let me give people a little bit of backstory on Christina, or the story of Christina as it relates to my experience with her. So I was watching a video, the movement video on YouTube, and I started looking at some reaction videos, and I found Christina's reaction video. She has a really awesome YouTube channel.
Oh, thank
Really
you.
cool, really awesome. You could just tell that she's super sweet. And I watched her movement reaction video, and you could just tell the love for Hozier was coming through. And so I appreciated that. And I actually sent her a comment saying she should join the 24/7 Hozier 24/7 Facebook group. And
I
she
do
did.
remember that.
She did. So
I
that was
did.
really great that she did that. So that was kind of how we met, and commented, posted here and there on Facebook group, but this is the first time that we've actually had a proper chat. So it's good to be able to sit down with you and talk with you a little bit on our Hozier obsession. So
It's been great thus far. I love the group and I'm so glad that I joined. Like everybody has become like a second family to me. It's just so great to be able to share in our love for the man himself.
yes, yes, it's great because nobody in my real life bubble knows or gets it. So it's kind of nice to have people that understand where you're coming from. So,
Absolutely.
how long have you been a fan of Hozier?
So I am currently going into my senior year of college, and I believe I have been a fan since my sophomore year of high school. I remember watching him on the Victoria's Secrets fashion show and taking selfies with the TV, saying, "Oh my gosh, I love Hosier so much, like I want to meet him." But at the time, I spelled his name as Hoiser, and yeah,
Fair
I've come a
enough.
long way.
We all start somewhere. Well, that's awesome. You've been a fan a lot longer than me then, because
Really?
I found Hozier through Arsonist Lullaby on The Walking Dead, which I believe was like around late 2015.
Okay.
But like I would listen to that song a lot, like it was in my playlist, and I would listen to it pretty much every day. But I didn't check out his other music
Mhm.
till probably that following summer, when I
Wow.
decided, oh, let me see what else he does. And so I didn't really get like super into his stuff until like 2016, after the tour had already ended.
Oh,
So
wow.
fairly
Yep.
fairly new to the fandom, but cool. Well, that's awesome. So and have you ever seen him? I think I know the answer, but for people who are listening, have you ever seen him live or have met him?
I have seen him live 3 times and I've met him 4 times.
Four. That's way more than I thought. So
Really?
you just bumped into him too, right? Like just like last week.
I did.
So
Yeah.
tell me about that.
So my local radio stations were doing contests to win and see him like at the City Winery in Boston and at the Mix 104.1 Lounge. So me and my friend Brooke, who I met at my first Hosier concert, she lives in Boston and we entered. We both didn't win, but we
Mm,
went to the City Winery anyways, just to sit and get drinks. And we're like, all right, like he's here. We're gonna like, we have to bump into him. There's no way we're not
yeah.
gonna see him. So we were sitting there just like drinking our drinks and eating some like French fries and Brussels sprouts, which are amazing there. And all of a sudden he walked out of the back room and I was like, Brooke, it's Andrew. And she's like, no, it's not. And I was like, no, but like turn around, he's right there. And I was like, no, no, I can't.
Wow. That is awesome. So what did you do? Like, did you just say, "Hey Andrew, come over here," or like how did you do that?
So he was meeting people that worked at the winery, and he was shaking hands and stuff. And he walked by me, and I like looked at him and I smiled. And then he was talking to someone else, and I went up to him and I was like, "Hey Andrew, like how are you? It's so good to see you. I met you at Boston Calling. Can we take a photo?" And he was like looking around. He's like I have to go, but yeah, real quick. And I was like, "Okay, thanks, man. Like thank you so much." And then he
Oh, that's
left.
cool. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Good. Well, so that was number 4.
Yes.
So are the other encounters all like post concert encounters, or what were those like?
So the first time I met him was at the House of Blues in Boston, and that was this past October. I waited outside in the rain for 3.5 hours post show until he came out.
Wow, that's a
Um,
long time. That's a long wait.
yeah, it was, and I was there since like 10 or 12 a.m. I mean 10 like or 12 afternoon time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there all day. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was definitely worth it though. I made a lot of friends.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
And then the second time I met him, I drove with my friend Brooke to Albany for that Palace Theater show. And we waited about 45 minutes post show. And then
Uh-huh.
he came out.
Okay.
And then the third time, I was working press for Boston Calling as a photographer.
Oh,
And
cool.
I was in the press tent, and all of a sudden, he walked in and he was doing interviews. And I was like, what is going on? Like, how is this my job? So then I said hello to like his tour manager, and I asked if we had a chance for photos. And she's like, maybe, like, we're running late. So we'll see.
Hmm.
And so then before he left, she brought him over to me and my friend, and we said hello. It was really quick, but it was definitely worth it.
That's awesome. So you do photography as well?
I do. I've shot his shows 3 times.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I didn't know you would actually shoot during his shows too.
Yes,
Oh,
I
wow.
shot
That's cool.
Boston, Albany, and Boston Calling.
Nice. Very cool. Wow, you're like a jack of all trades. You're doing all sorts of stuff.
I try my best. Thank you.
Cool. Well, so what we've got in store for the podcast today is for our monthly hosier topic, by popular demand, we are going to do some lyrical analysis. I brought it up last time, asked for some feedback from people, and the overwhelming majority of people were like, yeah, we want that. So we're going to do it. And somebody brought up a good point, um, that I think maybe in terms of being hesitant to talk about lyrics because Andrew is hesitant to talk about lyrics. Um, uh, Andrew wants everybody to come to their own conclusions when it comes to lyrics, and so during interviews, he tends to shy away from talking about what a song means or something like that. But I think it's one thing for him not to put his take on it, and it's another thing for the fans to be able to discuss amongst themselves what they think about it. So that made a lot of sense to me. So I think that's what we're gonna go with. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do Would That I and To Noise Making. And I'm keeping my eye on the time because I like to try to keep the podcast at about an hour. Um, and we also have news and stuff to go through. So I'm going to try to keep it maybe like 10, 15 minutes per song or something. So, which sounds like a lot of time, but there's a lot of lyrics. So we're going to try to push through it pretty quick. And also before we start, I wanted to get super geeky with this. Like I wanted to do complete song analysis. Like we're talking music theory and composition and just like geek it up unfortunately, I'm not smart enough to do that. Like, I went and looked at some music theory and some cadences, and like I don't understand any of it. So if anybody out there is educated in music theory or composition, I would love to have an episode where we talk about that stuff, because I don't understand it, but I want somebody to explain it. Because I have a feeling with some of the time signatures that he uses and stuff like that, that it would be pretty interesting. So please contact me if you want to be on the podcast and you know anything about that stuff. Please contact me, because we'll do it. So we're just going to break down lyrics. So I'm really excited about Would That I, because I think my interpretation of Would That I is way different than most people's. So we might have some differing opinions on this song. Or maybe we have the same opinion. Maybe you came to the same conclusion as I did. So tell me what your thoughts are as a theme as a whole for Would That I.
Would That I it's such an interesting song. It's my favorite, and oh my gosh, where do I begin? It's just kind of like a longing, a hopeful, like, love song for the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, I don't know, I just know that it really just like hits me in the gut for like no reason in particular. I don't know if it's like the harmonies or the back vocals, but it plays a lot on fire and light, and I think that it's a really important aspect of the entire song.
Yeah, it's a beautiful contrast between the fuel and the fire, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very cool. So, okay. So Would That I, like, thematically, I feel like it is a love song, but not in a traditional sense. Like, I feel like it's like a fight between his love for women or relationships versus his love for his music. I think they're at odds, and I think they're in direct conflict with each other. I have a quick video that I want to show, and for those listening, you could just listen. But this is an interesting take on how fame can affect relationships. So here we go.
What I'm asking you, are you going out with anybody?
I'm not.
that's it. Straight
at
out.
the moment, no. Sadly, I think, but that's kind of just like a love song for the end of the world. I suppose that I do like that song quite a bit, but there's not really. I suppose it's more of a fantasy person, but no, at the moment I'm like,
too busy.
Too busy.
Go on, are you in a boy band or something?
Busy.
Too busy touring.
And I've been living on a bus now until Christmas, so it does not terribly cohesive with not the best place to start a relationship. But yeah, I think because I'll be gone for a while, and it is a kind of. It has been, and I have to say, this album, I've never worked as hard on anything, and I've never been as busy before. The first launch was like, as I said, it was free online. We were trying to get people to download it and listen to it, and so there wasn't like.
So you might
launch.
You'll be doing 20 or 30 interviews over the coming week.
Yeah, exactly. It's super. It's busy.
Yeah.
So, and I'm kind of readjusting to that. So it's a good time not to have to be there for somebody emotionally. I'd find that tricky.
Right.
Yeah.
Good politician answer there.
Yeah. yeah.
All right. So he was talking about NFWMB in that clip, but I think the sentiments kind of are the same, and I feel like with the song Would That I think maybe this is just an expression of how he feels about that situation. So that's just my take on it. I'm sure everybody feels differently, but or not everybody, but I'm sure different people feel differently about it. So, that's fine, but we'll break it down kind of verse by verse. And then Would That I've heard people ask what that even means, like especially people who English isn't their primary language. So Would That I is used for saying that you wish something were true, especially when you know it is impossible. Such as, would that all questions were so easy to answer. So that in and of itself is sad to me. It's like, oh, that's kind of sad that even though you know something is impossible, you wish it were true. So, okay, so verse 1. True that I saw her hair like the branch of a tree, a willow dancing on air before covering me, under cotton and calicos, over canopy dapple long ago. Lyric Genius says dappled, but I think it's dapple in the album there, so it's just dapple. So let's see. True that love and withdrawal was the weeping of me, that the sound of the saw must be known by the tree, must be felled for to fight the cold. Fretted fire, but that was long ago. So what do you think about those?
It's interesting. I have the Google lyrics up, and they're so different.
I bet.
So I'm kind of like going through what I thought was. I know I Googled calico, and it's either a cat or the Indian cotton fabric. So if it's cotton and calicos instead of garden and calicos like it's showing me here, I'm going to go with the cotton.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my
fabric.
impression too. It's like a fabric. Yeah.
He comes back to willow trees a lot, and like willow dancing on air, like movement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think like if he was a tree, he'd be a willow tree, just because like that's what he references in like 90% of his songs.
Yeah.
The sound of the saw must be known by the tree is like a powerful lyric, I feel.
Yeah,
because you're constant, and like that could also play into like global warming and stuff, and cutting down trees is like another political movement and stuff like that.
I hadn't thought about that. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. Very cool. Yeah, it is kind of like the sound of the saw must be known by the tree. That's kind of unsettling, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
And going with my interpretation, I feel like so if he kind of establishes early on that the wood is a person, is a woman, because it says true that I saw her hair like the branch of a tree, willow dancing on air. So there's this like love affair. And so if the sound of the saw must be known by the tree, I think this woman knows about the situation with him putting his career first. And I mean, I will feel really dumb if this is the wrong interpretation. And it very well could be the wrong interpretation, but I can't get it out of my mind now that it's there. So, I guess like the woman knows the situation that, the sound of the saw is known by the tree. Like she knows as soon as he goes on tour, he's out. That's just my thoughts. This is also interesting because it says must be felled for to fight the cold. So it's interesting because you think that the wood would be what's keeping him warm.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's the fire that's keeping him warm. So you have to wonder, and this is where interpretations are going to differ. What's the fire? I think it's his career, but, I think other people think it's maybe another woman. What do you think it is? Do you think it's another woman then with your interpretation? Are you feeling like this is a conflict between two lovers?
I think he is the fire.
Oh, that's interesting.
Is the last line of the second stanza threatened fire, but that was long ago?
Fretted fire. Fret. Fretted. So he fretted fire. Okay.
So mine's different, but I think it's possible that he could be the fire.
That's interesting.
And
I never thought about that.
Because if you go into the chorus, it says, I'm set alight. When you hold me tight like the fire bright. And like your blinding light. So I guess like it's kind of iffy. Um,
Totally. Yeah, it is
'Cause
iffy. There's no clear definitions of fire in this one. There's a
like
clear
like
definition for the wood. That's established
yeah,
in the
yeah.
first line, but nothing for the fire. So he's
Like
vague.
I want to think that he's the fire.
Wow, that's cool.
Like kind of like everything I touch, like you're a piece of wood and I love you, but I touch you and you burn, so I can't have you, thus being
Ah,
impossible.
that's cool. I like that. That's very cool. Okay, so it's not tonight where I'm set alight and I blink in sight of your blinding light. So my interpretation, like blink in sight of your blinding light, like this fire is powerful. It's surprising in a way. It's, you know, he's set alight. It's exciting to him. That's kind of what I take from that. And then when he says, "Oh, let it blaze," all right, it sounds like he's made his decision on that. Like, let it blaze. Like, he's not resisting. He's like, yeah, let's do it. You know. But then it sounds like in the very next line, "Oh, but you're good to me. But you're good to me." There's a little regret there too. Like, yeah, let it blaze, but you're good to me. So to me it's just a conflict of the two.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to burn through this a little faster because we're like
Pun intended.
yeah. It wasn't intended, but I'd like to take credit for it, but I can't. Like the ashes of ash, I saw rise in the heat. Like he's excited by the fire. He's, you know, his heart is rising with the heat. So let me read this lyric here. So like the ashes of ash, I saw rise in the heat, settled soft and as pure as snow. I fell in love with the fire long ago. With each love I cut loose, I was never the same, watching still living roots be consumed by the flame. I was fixed on your hand of gold, laying waste to my loving long ago. So what do you think about that?
There's so much going on.
There's a lot there.
It's all hitting me. It all makes sense. It all goes with the title. Like the roots of flame. Like like something could grow from this, but like he's on fire. Like he can't stop what he's doing. He has to keep going, and in turn sacrificing what could be, in that like is laying waste to his loving. Like and he's not the same every time he cuts it through. Like it's just building up the flame. So like these broken potential relationships are just adding fuel to his fire, which will only in turn continue the vicious cycle.
For sure. And I feel like relationships, like his whole first album was like a breakup album. So like I feel like that's like fuel for the fire, you know, but and also I was confused on the "I was fixed on your hand of gold" lyric until I thought about it in regards to a career. It makes a little more sense that the hand of gold would be his career. But at the same time it lays waste to his loves. But yeah, watching still living roots be consumed by the flame, it's super sad. But I think, you know, it just, the flame can't sustain, like there has to be a choice. You can't have flame without fuel. You have to choose. You can't have both. And that's kind of what I see here, is that you just can't have both. Okay, so I think this is the last verse here. So in awe, there I stood as you licked off the grain. Though I've handled the wood, I still worship the flame. As long as amber of ember glows, all the wood that I loved is long ago. So what do you think about that?
Same thing as the last verse, like only it's just more in depth, like, and it's kind of reiterating, like, I know what I want to do with my life. This is my career. I worked hard for it. So like I may want love now, but I've worked too hard to get where I am to stop and put it aside. So as long as the amber is glowing and growing, I will have the hope in the future to like go back and reclaim what I have given up. But until that time, like I will just move on with what I've worked for.
Yeah, let it blaze. Yeah, well, and it says, like you said, as long as amber of ember glows. So it sounds like there's a time limit, like he's thinking like, as long as this fire is going, all the wood that I loved is long ago. If the fire stops, that's different, but as long as it's going, it's going to be a thing of the past,
Yeah.
So. Well, we made good time on that one. Let me look over my notes here. Okay. So, To Noise Making. This is a cool song.
I love this song.
So give me an overview of what you think about the song.
So when I first heard it, I know that one of the lyrics, "Best you find a little remedy, at worst the world will sing along," was actually published in his Store on a Notebook, before the song even came out.
He put that out on a notebook?
Yeah, so that lyric is on like a moleskin journal. But it was funny because my friend bought it and had him sign it at the Boston show in October, and he was like, "Where did you get this? Like, why do you have that?" So he didn't realize that it had been sold.
Really?
And we were very curious as to like what song it would be from when the album came out.
So it got leaked somehow.
Yeah, so it was like on his merch store, but I guess he was unaware.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it was officially released, but he had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's before the album dropped.
Yeah, he was very confused.
Oops.
I know.
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, this is cool."
I didn't
know
that. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I find this song to just be very empowering. Like, yeah, you can screw up, you can make mistakes, but as long as you love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, continue to do so, and don't let the world like mute your voice.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what do you think about the title? To Noise Making, parentheses, sing.
I feel like not all noise making has to be singing, and perhaps that's like why it's in parentheses. I haven't given it a whole lot of thought, but especially I guess when it comes to like politics and speaking up, you have to make noise to make change. Speak up for what you believe in, so don't be silenced. So you have to be up there and like making the noise. And I guess that could be something.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't think about noise making in terms of politics, but that's totally applicable. Didn't even think about that. Okay, so remember when you'd sing just for the F of it? Sorry, we aren't an explicit podcast, so I can't say that word. Any joy it would bring, honey, the look of it was as sweet as the sound, your head tilt back, your funny mouth to the clouds. I couldn't hope to know that song or know its words, wouldn't claim to feel the same we felt the first time it was heard. And I couldn't name that feeling carried in that voice. Was it that, or just the act of making noise that brought you joy? What do you think about that?
It paints a really clear picture, both like visually and emotionally. Like it just feels like a memory that he is thinking back to. So like you're looking up at the clouds, just making noise, you're singing songs, like you don't really know what you're singing, but you're just singing stuff. And in that moment, like you can't recreate how you felt. You can think of it and think back to it, but you're still searching for the feeling of that pure bliss that you had in that moment.
Yeah. Like trying to recall a memory doesn't always give you those feelings back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the visual of your head tilt back, your funny mouth to the clouds. Yeah. I love the last line. Was it that, or just the act of making noise that brought you joy? So it's like, was it what was it about the song that brings joy? Is it the feeling of the person who's singing? Like it says, I couldn't name that feeling carried in that voice. So like, you know how you can like, if somebody else is happy, that can rub off on you. Like you can be empathetic to the point where you start feeling the way the other person is feeling. And that can happen with music. I think you can be in a really bummer of a mood and listen to a really happy song, and that can bring you joy. Or the opposite can happen too. You can be in a good mood and then you listen to this depressing song and then all of a sudden you're depressed.
Yep.
But was it the feeling carried in the voice that brought you joy? Or was it just the act of making noise? Which is an interesting question, because it could be both, or it could be one or the other, depending on the person, but I think it's an interesting question, so.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to sing it right, but who could call you wrong? To put your emptiness to melody, your awful heart to song. You don't have to sing it nice, but honey, sing it strong. At best, you'll find a little remedy. At worst, the world will sing along. So what do you think about that?
I feel like this could definitely be put towards the person he's singing about, like in how they're singing this song, like it's not right. Or he could be talking about himself, like he's with his songs, he puts like his feelings and emotions into it. And if he finds help writing it down, like if it brings him satisfaction to record his thoughts and his words on a paper, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And he could have a bad song that no one likes, but he feels good, or also the world could love it and everybody would sing along to it, and it would just help both parties.
Yeah. It's awesome because, and I've had this discussion too with my daughter about, if you're kind of in a bad mood, you can find ways to fix your mood, and one of those ways that I use is music.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can listen to some jams and it can turn me around pretty quick. And so at best you'll find a little remedy, which I tend to do, and at worst the world will sing along. So there's you can't really lose. I think he's what he's saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sing. Okay, so verse 2, remember when you'd sing before we'd move to it, and we'd scuff up our shoes, honey, the groove of it was whatever you'd choose. I want to be your lover or the fisherman's blues. So what do you think about that?
It keeps coming back to dancing, and it just amuses me so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just, again, it's very beautiful. Like you'd sing and we didn't move to it. There was a time before we were like connected by this music. And then there was a time after. But it was always up to you. Like he never wanted to make the shots, call the shots, and put rules down, because rules are irrelevant in dancing in this situation. I don't understand the fisherman's blues part.
So that's a song. So like the groove of it was whatever you'd choose. So he's giving two examples. One is I Want to Be Your Lover by Prince. Just like a funky beat. Or the Fisherman's Blues, which is by a band called the Waterboys. Okay. They sound kind of a lot like the Lumineers. They've got like the mandolin going on and stuff, and it's like a driving beat rather than like a funky beat. So I think he's just saying it's whatever you choose. Like you could choose what you want to listen to, like sky's the limit, which is pretty cool. So he does seem to like dancing, even though he claims to not dance. He seems to like it, and even like his music videos and stuff. He'll share like somebody dancing to one of his songs, and he'll say how cool it is. So he must really like that as an art form, Okay. Uh-oh. Where'd I lose my... Okay, so You didn't always sing it right, but who could call you wrong? Put your emptiness to melody, you're awful. So we kind of went through that already. And then the bridge is, who could ask you, it says, who could ask you be broken or be brave again? I feel like I'm missing something. I thought it was, who could ask you to be broken or be brave again? Or honey hope even on the side of the grave again? And who could ask you to be sound or feel saved again? Just stick around until you hear that music play again. What do you think about that?
It's so it's complex, and I just want to know what he was thinking and what triggered him to write these words. Coffee.
For sure.
So who could ask to be broken or brave again? I feel like these are just all choices you have to make, and where one may sound more tempting than the other. They may not all be great choices or appropriate for someone, but know that whatever you choose, you can always have the choice to stick around, to go back to the good times or relive the memory of the song.
Yeah, I had a really hard time with this lyric, so I actually put a post on Facebook on the
that was
Hozier 24/7 group, and because I couldn't figure it out, and I thought maybe some feedback would be fun anyway on some of these. So I'm just gonna read some of the feedback that I got, particularly pertaining to this lyric. And also, at the onset of this, I want to say, if I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize. So I'll do the best I can. So Annie McCoy said, I think it's about asking someone not to shy away from joy and good things in life, even though that can make you vulnerable. To sing and carry on despite troubles that might have happened, particularly any troubles between the narrator of the song and the person they're asking to sing. I think that's interesting because there's a vulnerability with opening yourself up to these things. Nikisha Alexander, subjective opinion, : he's addressing someone who has been hurt in a significant way. The first line is saying that no one has the right to ask you to be unaffected or unchanged by what's happened, that you don't have to put on a brave face. Second and third line to me just means that it's okay to be in despair and depressed, and that it's okay to feel all the negative feelings and express hopelessness. It's understandable and valid that you feel shaken, broken, betrayed, and unsafe. But don't give up. Stick around anyway until something sparks your joy or self again, be it music or whatever fuels you. Overall, it's just acknowledging someone's right to feel the things they do, but also asking/beseeching them to not give up entirely, because music and what they love can give them happiness again. That's pretty. I like that.
I love that so much.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. So, Naomi Cody, to tell me it feels like the narrator is asking what makes you have faith in people again after being hurt so deeply. What do you seek that allows you to be vulnerable enough to love again? Like the narrator is questioning why they or anyone else would be foolish in thinking they could be the person that is enough, but encouraging them to remain open to the possibility of good. So that's lovely as well. Isabel Lloyd, drawing a little more on what Lyric Genius says, I think in the first line he's referencing how carefree and unscathed children are, and how easily they let you know what they're feeling. He might be asking the listener to go back to that childlike state by letting go of your past experiences and just letting someone know how you feel. I think he's saying that that you only get one shot at life, which leads into the next line of on this side of the grave. So be brave, vulnerable, tell your love, even friends or family, how you really feel before it's too late. If you make yourself vulnerable, you can find someone who makes you feel safe, where together you can enjoy the music once again despite your negative past experiences. Jessica B. Johnson, quote, hope even on this side of the grave again, unquote, makes me think of a lot of religious theology regarding eternal paradises / afterlives. The idea of our time spent on earth is something of a purgatory, but that hopefulness and joy and reward wait for us once we've passed on. In the lyric, he seems to be both symbolizing with the fact that sometimes it's difficult to find reasons for wanting to stick around, but trying to encourage the listener that there's beauty in the world as it is, beauty worth staying to see. And then the last one, Sydney McHugh, she gives a caution here, touchy themes of assault/suicide. So the first time I heard this voice, I actually absolutely broke apart. To make a long story short, I was at a tough spot with dealing with the aftermath of being raped. I was to the point of finishing up the plans of killing myself because of how intensely I was feeling things, and I was essentially just in the mindset of, F this, I'm out. I'm normally someone who's introverted, but still enthusiastic about life, but I wasn't singing my normal song. I wasn't letting anyone or anything near enough to love me and help me back out except for the music I was listening to. Just stick around until you hear that music play again, is something I didn't know I needed to hear until I heard it. Now I'm a few weeks away from starting therapy, and I'm so glad this song exists as a reminder that it's okay to feel the things, but not let the crappy thoughts and experiences win you over in the end. That's an incredible story, and I'm so glad, first of all, that you are getting the help that you need, because I can't imagine the tough situation that would be, but I'm super glad that you are deciding to stick around until you hear the music play again, because there are some beautiful things in this life. So, okay, so the next part is it goes back to the chorus of "So honey, sing, sing, sing." But then there's some background noises that kind of start. It says, I believe I got this from Lyric Genius, maybe? It says the voices interwoven with the last chorus of the song were already existing examples of children playing and singing, and Hozier's favorite poet, Seamus Heaney, reciting at the wellhead. This was explained by Hozier himself in a Q&A in his Instagram stories on March 6, 2019, in an interview with the Guardian. So I actually have a brilliant video of Hozier reciting at the wellhead. So I'll go ahead and play that for you.
Hey, I'm going to read At the Wellhead by Seamus Heaney. I'm a huge Seamus Heaney fan. But what I love about this poem in particular is its gorgeous imagery and how it credits what can be offered and what can be translated and captured and felt in music and poetry and in anything that can be heard, I suppose, in what can be heard. So, at the wellhead. Your songs, when you sing them with your two eyes closed, as you always do, are like a local road we've known every turn of in the past. That midge-veiled, high-hedged side road where you stood looking and listening until a car would come and go and leave you lonelier than you had been to begin with. So sing on, dear shut-eyed one, dear far-voiced veteran. Sing yourself to where the singing comes from, ardent and cut off, like our blind neighbour who played the piano all day in our bedroom. Her notes came out to us like hoisted water, ravelling off a bucket at the wellhead, where next thing we'd be listening, hushed and awkward. That blind from birth, sweet-voiced, withdrawn musician was like a silver vein in heavy clay, night water glittering in the light of day, but also just our neighbour, Rosie Keenan. She touched our cheeks. She let us touch her braille in books like books wallpaper patterns come in. Her hands were active, and her eyes were full of open darkness and a watery shine. She knew us by our voices.
She'd say she saw whoever or whatever. Being with her was intimate and helpful, like a cure you didn't notice happening. When I read a poem with Keenan's well in it, she said, I can see the sky at the bottom of it now.
So that was At the Wellhead by Seamus Heaney. And so he plays that recording in the background of this song, of that poem. And so the poem is basically about a blind girl who sees things with different eyes. She says she'll see something even though she can't see, which is interesting as it relates to this song, because I'm trying to figure out, like, I understand the song in terms of letting it change a mood or something along that lines, but it's difficult for me to make the connection between At the Wellhead and this song. Do you have any ideas for me?
Let's see. Like, I guess, I don't know, that's like a tricky thing to kind of mesh together.
It is.
I guess, like, maybe just because she can't see, like, doesn't mean she can't feel or, like, speak up and enjoy music just as much as the next person.
That's
I don't
tough.
know.
Maybe we need some people to write in and
Please
give us some insight on why At the Wellhead is in the song. Let me listen to the first couple seconds of this again.
Hey, I'm going to read At the Wellhead by Seamus Heaney. I'm a huge Seamus Heaney fan, but what I love about this poem in particular is its gorgeous imagery and how it credits what can be offered and what can be translated and captured and felt in music and poetry and in anything that can be heard, I suppose, in what can be heard.
I think I understand. Do you get it?
I get it now.
What do you got?
So, I mean, I guess we first talked about how this song has a ton of imagery in it, and it's a very strong, like, imagery in the first stanza, and even, like, throughout the whole song, but it can definitely bring a feeling and evoke memories and visions, like visuals, to the listener. And I don't know, it can be heard. I feel like, I don't know, he said it perfectly, and I feel like I can't really explain any further into it.
Yeah, he did say it pretty well, and I probably should have caught that the first 3 times I listened to that. For some reason it just struck me now, but yeah, it's what music or noises can do for being able to see without being able to see.
Yeah.
It can invoke thoughts or vision. It can invoke being able to grab a visual from what can't be seen. So it's quite interesting. So very cool. Okay, so that is to noisemaking. So my apologies to everybody for this running really long. You might have to take this podcast in a couple different bits, but I'll try to burn through the rest of what we have a little faster. But for right now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. There's a lot of costs associated with producing a podcast. Between hosting a website, buying equipment, and paying for file storage, we quickly realized that maybe it would be a good idea if we started asking for help. If you would like to help support us, visit hozier247.blog/join. You'll get exclusive rewards such as access to the video podcast and watch party, an invitation to our monthly call-in show, and quarterly bonus content. At $3 a month for the groupie plan and $6 a month for the fanatic plan, we're not looking to get rich. We're just trying to avoid going broke. So visit hozier247.blog/join if you would like to help support us. Thanks to everyone who has already contributed, and thank you to everyone who is listening to the podcast. We appreciate your support. Okay, so we are back, and I wanted to announce some of the winners from the giveaways from last podcast. We are giving away 2 tickets to the November 3rd concert in Chicago. And of the entries that we had, Susan Smith, who is my partner in this podcast, so whenever you hear me say we, it's not just all the people in my head. Susan and I are working together on this, and so she and I picked out the winner. The way we chose a winner was we decided that people could send in why they feel like they deserve the tickets, and we would give it to the most deserving person, because unfortunately with ticket scalpers, the most deserving people often don't get those tickets. So we have picked a winner, and that winner is Amy Montgomery. So Amy, congratulations on winning the tickets. I will message you with information on how I will get those tickets to you, and I'm sure you will enjoy the show. I think it's going to be great. So also we had a contest for a drawstring bag with the Frozen Devotion logo on it. That was for people who signed up to be paid supporters of our podcast. We really appreciate everybody who signed up. We really appreciate the support. This can get kind of expensive, so we appreciate any help that you can give us. So I have a bowl filled with names of people, and so I'm going to randomly pick a winner here. So I'm going to look. Yeah, I gotta. So we have Carol Jean. Carol Jean, no lie. And they're not all Carol Jean either. Like if I pick this one, it's somebody else. So it's just a happenstance, random happenstance that my host from last time got the drawstring bag. So that's pretty cool. So Carol, I will let you know about getting you that drawstring bag. So congratulations on that. So I expect to see you wearing it at our next concert. So we're going to be in Seattle. We're both going to the Seattle show, so that should be fun. Okay, so news. So for the news, there's quite a few news items. I might skip over a couple in the interest of time. But for now, something that's going on is Emily Kohavi has replaced Suzanne Santo for violin and guitar and backup vocals. So really sad to see Suzanne go, but I'm kind of excited to hear some new music that she's going to want to put out, and I hope she starts touring in the U.S. because I will be there. But sounds like Emily Kohavi is pretty good. She's from a band called Wild Eyes. It's an American folk band from Nashville. He gets a lot of his backup singers from Nashville, so I don't know if these ladies all know each other. Do you know anything about that? If they know each other?
I didn't know her name until I spoke with someone at the winery about it.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, she's very talented. She's got great vocals. I love anybody who can play the violin or the banjo, so she's got my heart right away for that. But yeah, check out Wild Eyes if you want to know more about her, because she seems to be the lead singer there, and she's very talented. So, what's interesting, though, is that she's taken over, but there are some scheduling conflicts for her between playing for Wild Eyes and playing for Hozier. So Wild Eyes, on September 22nd, will be playing Twin Falls State Park in Mullins, West Virginia, and Hozier will be in Great Britain. November 13th, Wild Eyes will be at the Harbor Center in Slidell, Louisiana. Hozier will be in Boston. November 16th, Wild Eyes will be in Bolivia, North Carolina, and Hozier will be in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And all these conflicts start after Suzanne Santos' tour is over. So I'm wondering if Suzanne is going to step back in, or if he's going to find a third person, or if they're going to cancel the Wild Eyes shows. I'm not really sure what's going to happen there, but just a heads up that there's some crazy stuff happening. So I'm not quite sure. All right. So also Austin Roa is returning as a photographer for Hozier. So you like Austin Roa? Well, you're into photography.
Austin so much.
You're a photographer yourself. So tell me what you think about Austin's photographs.
His photographs are they're very unique, I feel like, to him. Because we had Christian Tierney's photos, and they were very, like, concert photos, blah, blah, blah. Like, you could tell that they were Christian's photos. But with Austin, like, he plays with light, he plays with angles and the contrast, and just the way that he edits the photos. It's very unique to him.
Yeah.
And I love them.
They are very unique. They're very good. He like boosts like the saturation and the contrast, and there's like a texture to them that is really, really good. So I think he's great. I'm glad. So if you want to check out some good Hozier photos, you can check out Austin Roa on Instagram. He is Austin Roa, AUSTINROA. So he always puts out some good stuff. So in terms of the tour, what is kind of amazing is that he is going to be playing in the next 9 shows in US and Canada. 8 are festivals. He better be getting some good rest, because I don't know how he's gonna do 8 festivals. So he did the Exponential Festival, that was in Camden, New Jersey. He did Newport, which I have some news about, on the 28th. On the day this drops, the podcast drops, he'll be doing Lollapalooza in Chicago. And then he's got a Hinterland Music Festival August 2nd, which is in St. Charles, Iowa. The Oshiga Music and Arts Festival in Montreal, Quebec. Now this is the one show that he has that's not a festival, is the Coliseum at Caesars Windsor, August 6th in Windsor, Canada. That's a 5,000 capacity arena. Edmonton Folk Festival, August 8th in Alberta. Outside Lands Music Festival, August 10th, that's San Francisco, California. Railbird Festival, August 11th in Lexington, Kentucky. And then he will be off to Denmark after that. And he's playing a 4,900 capacity venue once he gets over there. So he's going to be busy doing lots of festivals.
Yes.
And we've got kind of like August 1st, August 2nd, August 4th, August 6th, August 8th, August 10th, August 11th. So some are back to back, but most of these have like a day in between. So hopefully he'll be able to enjoy himself a little bit and get good rest and stuff, because those festivals, man, they're tiring. They're like, they'll kill you. They'll kill me anyway. Okay, so more on the Newport Folk Festival. So looks like Andrew had a great time. He posted on social media saying, "In times when kindness and openness seem increasingly radical, I'm so grateful for Newport Folk Festival. The whole event is steeped in a shared spirit of love and solidarity. I was proud to be among the incredible artists. Great art is often radical. Newport is rich in all of the above." So, sounds like my kind of place. While they were there, they also celebrated Mavis Staples' 80th birthday, which was on July 10th. And you could see pictures of them celebrating. It's super sweet. Like there's Andrew gave her some pearl earrings and stuff like that. So I just love them together. They're so sweet. Like Mavis seems like you just want to like pinch her cheeks and give her a big hug. Like she seems so sweet. So them together in one room is like overload of cuteness. It's awesome. Okay, so he also shared a stage at Newport Folk Festival with like everybody. So he shared a stage with Lake Street Drive, Brandy Carlisle, Jason Isabel, Our Native Daughters, and of course Mavis Staples. So here are a few highlights for you of the show. So it looks like he had a great time. Now, you're a fan of Brandi Carlile, right?
I am.
Yeah. So you were pretty excited to see them performing together?
Such a dynamic duo. Honestly, I kind of lost my mind a little bit when I watched the recap.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, it's so magical. I want them to write a song together, or 5, like anything.
Yeah. Oh, that would be cool. They sound great together. And
So good.
I have to admit, I haven't listened to Brandi Carlile at all. But after seeing the footage of Newport, that song is beautiful, and I think I'm gonna give her a listen because she sounded great. She's
phenomenal.
Yeah, and then Lake Street Drive, I've heard a lot of buzz about them, so I'm gonna have to check them out too. So yeah, it seems like everybody was taking the stage with everybody. Like you didn't know whose set it was. Like I heard that what happened with Brandi Carlile coming on stage with Hozier was that she didn't get to play one of her songs on her set because she ran out of time, and so Andrew allowed her to play her song during his set, which was really lovely. So that was kind of nice. I know, isn't that great?
So sweet.
Yeah, good guy. He's a good lad. He's a good lad.
He's all right.
Okay, so an article in Limerick Leader I wanted to point out from July 4th. They asked Andrew, Andrew, you've had a whirlwind journey since releasing your debut EP with that world-famous track, Take Me to Church, in 2013. You are now a household name, and your new album has just charted #1 on the Billboard charts. Do you feel like you are at the peak of your career? He answered, I hope not. I feel like I am only 2 albums in, and I know I'm extremely fortunate with the success of both, but I really can't wait to release more songs and get working on the next record already. I've already been writing, and I can see the character of album 3 taking shape. I have so much material. I'm excited to finish, and I promise I won't be as long coming as the last. So this is really exciting.
I'm so excited.
The fact that he said that he can already see the album taking shape, like that's awesome. I know he wrote. The album has 14 songs, and I think there's 2 more on the EP, so that's 16, or is it 12 and 14? Either way, I think it's like 14 or 16. And then he said that he wrote and had a decent amount in the ballpark of 20 songs when he released the album. So he's already had some extra. But the fact that he's like not going to take a super long hiatus is just really good news. Really good news. I'm excited about that. So isn't that exciting?
It's very exciting. I'm like so excited right now because I didn't read that interview.
Yeah, and well, I'm still like, I haven't played out Wasteland Baby yet. So the idea of like new music coming, I don't know how long it would be, maybe a year, 2 years, I don't know, but I was like bracing myself for like 4 years or 5 years, but I don't think it's going to take that long. So I'm excited.
Right?
Very excited. And then he tweeted on July 13th, I'm back in studio working on a couple of tunes, and it's a fine feeling. So
I'm so excited.
That is really exciting. I don't know if he's like trying to record for the next album or if he's like thinking about doing a soundtrack or being in a soundtrack or something like he did with Better Love. I'm not really sure what he's up to, but it's really good to know that he's recording. So that's really exciting. So, okay, so on to feedback. Marissa Isaacs says, instantly subscribed upon seeing this post. Can't wait to listen. So thank you, Marissa. I appreciate that. Kay Michelle said, analyzing my favorite song off Wasteland. So I let them know that we're going to be analyzing some lyrics. So that is in response to that. Eugenia Ordriazola says, yes, song dissection would be amazing. I would love to know others' interpretation of lyrics. So hopefully we delivered on that. Let's see. Amanda Dempsey Jones. I love your podcast. Would That I and To Noise Making are some faves on my album. And then she put the rock star hand emoji. So thank you for that feedback. It's really appreciated. Please keep sending feedback, because I understand that people are not listening to this podcast because of me. They are listening to this podcast because they love Hozier. And I want it to be a community of, I want to hear what you guys are saying. That's why I have a guest on the show, because I want it to be like community. I want input. I want people to be able to voice their opinions about how they feel about Hozier. And so please keep sending feedback. I really appreciate it. That does it for the show. So to contact us, we've got a couple different ways that you can contact us. So you can send us email, or you can email a voice memo from your phone, which works really good because it's a really nice sounding voice memo. So if you want your voice on the podcast, you could email the voice memo, or just do a plain old email at frozendevotion@gmail.com. If you're a supporting member, you can visit the groupie and fanatic pages on the Hozier 24/7 blog site to leave your priority feedback on the mail drop posts. You can also leave voicemail. We have a voicemail number now. It's 602-633-4903. 602-633-4903. And I will have that number memorized at some point. If you want to access the largest known Hozier video database known to man, or you want to be part of an amazing fan club, Hozier fan club, visit Hozier 24/7 on Facebook and join that group. I highly recommend it. It is fantastic. I've met some fantastic people, including Christina Laderoute. Actually, that's not even fair, because I met you on YouTube, but you joined the group, and it's been great interacting with her on the group. So thank you so much, Christina, for coming on the podcast. So let us know, tell us how we can find you on social media.
Good question. Let's see if I can remember. So my Instagram is Christina Laderoute. My Twitter is Christina Lad. You can find my photography of the Hozier shows either on Instagram, Christina Laderoute Photography, or you can go to my website, christinaladeroute.myportfolio.com. And my YouTube, I believe, is Candidly Christina, where we just get candid about a lot of things. And I hope to have more content up once I'm done with my job here this summer. So
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming on the show. You've been a delight. Hopefully you can come back at some point and do this again. I would love to. It was really fun. And then thank you also to our supporting members for helping us by contributing. And thank you so much for listening, everybody. Look after each other, and we will see you all in September. Hi. Yay, we did it!